If you ever read the story of Cain and Abel in Genesis chapter 4, I'm sure you asked yourself several times, why did God reject Cain's sacrifice but accept Abel's? Well, many Bible scholars and researchers around the world have tried to answer this question, but they always seem to leave out a very important detail that I'm going to share with you today in this video. Alright, so just to recap a little bit, Cain and Abel are the first two sons of Adam and Eve. Cain was said to be a tiller of the ground, and Abel tended flocks of sheep. And when the time came, the two brothers presented sacrifices before the Lord. Cain's offering being the fruit of the ground, and Abel's being the firstborn of his flock and the fat thereof. So when the offerings were presented before God, the story in Genesis in chapter 4 verse 4 tells us that the Lord respected Abel and his offering, but he did not respect Cain and his offering, and Cain was very angry and his countenance fell. So why did God choose Abel's sacrifice over Cain's? I've heard several different explanations, such as it was a vegetable sacrifice and not an animal sacrifice, or it was because Cain had a bad attitude, or because it was the work of his hands, and so on and so on and so on. But the problem is, none of the answers I've heard of this topic truly stick to the context of the story. I'm convinced the context of the story itself reveals the true reason Cain's sacrifice was rejected. So what does the context really tell us then? How about we go back one chapter to Genesis 3 verse 17, where it reads, "Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow thou shalt eat of it all the days of thy life." So bam, right there. Now we see that the reason Cain's sacrifice is rejected is because the ground is cursed. So with the knowledge of the context leading up to the sacrifice in chapter 4, one would be able to infer that Cain's offering was doomed for rejection from the very start. Because why would God accept something from the very thing he cursed? So why is this story even important to know? What does it really have to do with? Well, when you study stories like this in the Hebrew Scriptures, it's imperative to understand what the Hebrew Scriptures are and who they're about. I hate to disappoint you, but the Hebrew Scriptures are not about you, first and foremost. Secondly, they're not about your personal experience with God or what God's doing in your life. And they certainly don't have to do with world affairs such as politics or issues of starvation or any such world affair. According to Jesus himself, the Hebrew Scriptures are all about him. He says in John chapter 5, verse 39, "Search the Scriptures, for in them ye think ye have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me." So, keeping this in mind, the types and shadows such as the one about Cain and Abel I recently mentioned today reveal to us greater insight into Jesus and the work of the cross. Let me explain further. After we see Cain's countenance fall, Cain is left angry with his brother. So angry that he takes it upon himself to kill Abel. Of course, God being all-knowing and whatnot, knows what Cain has done, and a curse is put on Cain. Genesis chapter 4 verse 11 says, "And now thou art cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. Behold, thou hast driven me out of this day from the face of the earth, and from the face I shall be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him." So how does the curse on Cain have anything to do with Jesus? Well, just as the obedient act of Noah caused God to lift the curse off the ground, the same curse which led to Cain's demise, the obedient act of the sacrifice of Jesus lifted the curse of sin off the entire planet that was imposed by the disobedient act of Adam in the garden. In Genesis chapter 5 through chapter 8, God's work through Noah reveals how that process took place. From the very birth of Noah in verse 28 of chapter 5, we see how God sets up Noah's life to accomplish this plan. Starting at verse 28, and Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son. And he called his name Noah, saying, this same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. And in a later video, I'll go into more detail about God's plan, demonstrated and acted out through Noah. But for right now, I really want to focus on the end of the story when Noah comes off the ark, which we see here in Genesis chapter 8, verse 20. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. Now, if you see how a covenant that was established by God through Noah could benefit all of mankind, don't you think that a covenant that was established by God through Christ would also benefit all of mankind? Well, the prophet Isaiah thought so. Isaiah 54 says, for this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so I have sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord that hath mercy on thee. This is the point of reading the scriptures, y'all. The scriptures are not designed for you to know what God is doing for you in your own life. The scriptures are there to reveal to you what God did through Jesus' life, and show you how that benefits every person on this entire planet. The benefit is in knowing that you and every person on the planet are at total peace with God, and that the curse of sin has been completely removed and wiped out by the work of the cross. And there's so much more to be said that I'll cover here soon. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. I really appreciate your support, and if you have any questions or feedback, please let me know in the comments down below. I hope to bring some more insights next week into the Hebrew Scriptures, and I hope to see you soon.